Hi, Mark.
Hey Shelley, how's it going?
Good. Great to see you today. Thanks for joining me on this blog about consistency.
I, I
I
have
really,
to I have to admit it's always a delight to see your face, Shelley. So I'm happy to be here.
well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who's tuning in, listening in right now. I'm just going to quickly tell you a little bit about who I've got here. This is Mark Frentz. He's a remarkable friend, coach, and mentor. He's a man of integrity, a kind soul whose daily intention has always been, since we've known him, to help those around him and to give as much value as he can. And he certainly has done that with my husband and I. So we totally appreciate him. He's always seeking out opportunities to make a difference wherever he is. And I know, Mark, you're very well educated, you're well traveled, you've done and seen so much, and we've totally enjoyed all your stories. And I've learned a lot from you, and I've learned a lot about consistency from you. I I know you are following my blog, and you realize I've been talking about it in the last couple of blogs. But just from my experience with you, and that I'm working on being more consistent on certain things. I feel that this is something you display well in your life and are knowledgeable on, and that is why I'd like you to, speak about your journey with it and what you know works. Or helps a lot of people, especially around being consistent on being active, being positive, having that positive mindset, and even healthy eating, like just those sort of things that everybody seems to want to be consistent on in their life.
Wow, you've asked me so two things. One, thank you for that kind introduction. You are a very kind human being, and anyone who's watching this and knows you loves you for a very good reason, Shelley, because you are kind and you're sincere in your compliments. I appreciate that. That's a lot to live up to with what you said. But secondly, the consistency question you've asked for is you've just opened up a large can of worms. There's so much to talk about in this. I'll try to be short and succinct, and feel free to ask me any other questions you want. From what you are saying, so you've talked about physical health, mental health, attitude. I'm going to talk about it probably a few different smaller pieces. The first is when it comes to building new habits. If somebody is not consistent in something, and that can be with kind of mindfulness or meditations in the morning, that could be physical exercise, just moving your body in some way. The first and biggest thing people can need to realize is that until a habit is formed, it needs to be easier, generally speaking, than not doing it. I'll give you an example. If somebody knows that they want to be active, then make sure that their active wear is in an easy place to get to as soon as they come home from work or as soon as they wake up. It's the first thing that they see. Now it's easier to get into that clothing than into a wardrobe and lounge around on the couch or whatever it is, right? If we're setting ourselves up for success and making it easy, that will be helpful. And I'm going to include one other thing with that. Make sure when we're setting up routines to be consistent in our lives that we do two things. Number one, we make it short enough that we'll actually do it. So at the start, if somebody's getting into a routine of walking or running or jogging or cross country, whatever it is, make it so short that it's difficult not to do. For example, if you set the time limit of less than 5 minutes, just until the habit's set. Every week you can increase by a minute or 2 minutes. Sometimes people think like, what is it even worth it to start? Well, it is worth it because once that habit is set up, we automatically jump into it and we have better connotations in our mind set up with it instead of negativity. So if you think, oh, this is easy, well, now that feeling of ease and feeling of enjoyment continues along in the future. If we set up ideas in our heads that this is difficult, I hate this, whatever, that is going to be very difficult now to be consistent in. And then the second side of that, so first make it easy like that. Second is keep ourselves accountable in ways that are fun. There's a really unique thing in the human mind, and that is that when we check something off a box, it feels good. If we got a list and we check it off, it feels good. So I would recommend for a lot of people, set up a calendar somewhere visible so people can hold us accountable in the family or people around us. Let other people know. And then every time we do that 5-minute activity, just check it off the box. That will feel phenomenal. When we start to see all these check marks along here, we start to build confidence. We start to feel good about this. And it really helps a lot. And I realize I've already thrown a lot at you with that, but that's the first idea that comes up with at least physical activity or a habit that we're trying to create and maintain.
Yeah, I was going to mention ask you about scheduling. So scheduling that and checking it off. I know that's a big thing for me. If I write it down that I'm going to do 5 minutes of something in the morning, I'm more likely to do it. So, and a question I know that comes up a lot with people when they're working on things like this is, how long is it going to take to make a change?
Oh, this is such a difficult question, and it's a brilliant question. So we've heard things like, it takes 2 weeks to create a habit, or it takes a month to create a habit, or it takes 3 months to create a habit, or it takes 6 months to create a habit. The truth is, it's different for everybody depending on a lot of factors. One factor is how long we've been doing something else. One factor is what is the emotional relationship we have with this. If we go, I want to exercise, but we've told ourselves for the last 60 years, I hate exercise, it's going to be more difficult. It's going to take more time. That's just the way it is. It takes the average person to set up a new habit, it takes something like 60 to 90 days. But that's average. That means that some people can set up a new habit in 2 weeks. It says that other people are going to need 6 months or 7 months. Sometimes people need up to 10 months to create a new habit. So it's different for everyone depending on those factors. I don't even know if I'm helping you out with that answer.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, because that's how I felt as well. And from research that I've done, I've seen that exact answer, is that it can be very different for everybody depending on a lot of different things. And what do you think, or what would you say? Would you say accountability is very helpful, like by talking to other people and announcing maybe that you're going to do it, and having people keep you to it, or asking them to keep you to it? Is that a big part of it as well?
In my mind, that would probably be the biggest factor, Shelley. We are social creatures. So we will, and we know this about ourselves. Anyone watching this, right? You know yourself. You know that if you say to yourself, I'm going to do this tomorrow, that you may or may not do it. If you tell somebody else, especially somebody that you respect or you're trying to impress on some level, or somebody that will ask you or put your feet to the fire, the truth is that we will get more done. Because we're social creatures, we need accountability. Now, accountability can look different to different people, but I would highly suggest to anyone, yes, be accountable to somebody. Make sure you're accountable. That will help so much. That's a great question, Shelley. And you know this from experience, how important it is.
Yeah. And then another thing I wanted you to maybe just cover a little here is just knowing why you want to make the change, the why, and just clarity around that, and understanding steps that you need to do to make that change, like just that real clarity. I know I've struggled sometimes with making something consistent, and then until it became more clear on why I wanted it, and my why became bigger, it seemed to be easier.
Yeah, so this why piece, everyone talks about their why. And my guess is that it's a lot about like talking about goals. Everyone talks about goals. Very few people actually do them and set up goals. And a lot of people talk about why and having motivation to do something. Very few people understand what that means or actually implement systems to help us with that. To understand our why, we need to understand again how the human brain works. My background in psychology helped me so much in figuring this stuff out for myself. When we understand what motivates us, and sometimes things motivate us that aren't all lollipops and rainbows. We've got sometimes a motivation that I'm trying to prove something to somebody else. Well, you know what? If that's true, then it's true. And so it's best to know that and use it for my advantage rather than trying to lie to myself. So I see a lot of people going, I need to exercise because I want to be healthy. Well, that's a lie for most people. Most people don't want to be healthy. What most people want, what motivates most people, what their why is I don't want to hurt. I'll give you an example. When I blew out the disc in my back, I was 30 years old. I blew out the disc in my back. I didn't start stretching and exercising because I wanted to be healthy. The first and primary reason was because I didn't want to hurt. I couldn't move for 2 months. I couldn't do anything. And I didn't want that pain ever again. So pain often motivates us more than pleasure. And to be honest with ourselves and understand that is really useful. And it's okay. It's okay for all of us to say, I don't want to be 75 years old and not be able to play with my grandkids. Or I don't want to be 75 years old and I struggle to even drive because I'm in so much pain all the time. If that's a motivator and that's what helps us, tapping into that emotional reason for doing something or not doing something, that's okay. I'm very pragmatic. Do things that work rather than the perfect ideal in every situation. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You've made a lot of things clear. Like I love when you mentioned, at the beginning, even about not making the time so big. Like if you want to go exercise, don't start off with, I'm going to exercise an hour every day for 5 days, start off small, like you said. And I know from my experience, when I have a little bit of success, then you're excited for the next day and you can do more. Or I might be out there doing something and I say I'm going to do it for 20 minutes, but I feel so good. I go, I'm going to do another 10.
That is so important. Usually I mention that to people and I forgot, Shelley. Just by setting that 5-minute time limit doesn't mean you have to stop. It just means you get to check off the box. So if you've done an hour on day 1, day 2, day 3, and then day 4, you're tired, all you have to do is that 5 minutes. Just stretch. Just move your body for 5 minutes. You get to check off that box. You get to keep that momentum going. It helps so much. I really like that you mentioned that.
Yes. And I think too, just celebrating what you do get done is helpful with consistency to make you excited for the next day again.
You know what? That's a really good point again. So much of the time we celebrate when we've achieved something or when we've grown a certain level. It's really healthy to celebrate the small things. To say, I just did 5 days in a row of 5 minutes each day. I'm going to celebrate. Now, again, we don't have to celebrate with junk food or candy or something. We can celebrate with spending time with a family member or saying, hey, listen, I'm going to allow somebody to say good job and say thank you for that. We can show gratitude. We can appreciate what we are doing. We can celebrate things in really unique ways.
Okay. I have one more thing I'd like you to cover before we end this and not keep people too long. I hope everybody is making notes because I know when I'm with you, I'm always making notes. But one thing I wanted to maybe touch on, because I know you're going to tell me that this is a really big subject, but what are your thoughts about discipline and willpower when it comes to this? Willpower is a big topic, I know.
It is. And I will skip how big it is. And I'm going to tell everyone something very simply. If it's difficult to do it earlier in the day. The earlier we can do something in the day that we don't want to do, the more likely it will get done. When we have fresh brains, and this is true of any industry or in any business, if we get the thing done in the morning, first thing that's the most difficult, it does 2 things. One, we're more likely to get it done. We know this about ourselves. If we wait until 9 o'clock at night and we still haven't done the thing that we already don't want to do, there's no chance we're doing it at 9 o'clock. So do it early in the day. It will help it get done. But the second thing is we will feel great, because we've accomplished something that we believe is difficult. It doesn't matter if somebody else believes it's difficult or not. When we do something that we believe is difficult and we've accomplished it and we've checked off that box, we feel great and we will actually get more done throughout the rest of the day. So that's the only thing. I'll keep it short and then say that's the only thing about willpower for today.
Well, that's a great tip, and I think I'm pretty sure that in my last blog or the first one about consistency, I talked briefly about that because there's the book, um, Eat That Frog, I believe
Yes.
it's called.
Yes. Brian Tracy.
Yeah, so I believe I did mention that. So if anyone's interested, that is a great book to help you get those steps to doing those things first thing in the morning. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You've covered a lot of stuff for us. I really appreciate your time. I don't want to keep you too long, but if anyone is looking at reaching out to you in any way and connect with you, maybe ask you more questions or see what you're doing, and what you have to offer to people, is there what's the best way for people to reach out to you, Mark?
I'm not a social media person. I don't follow social media. I find that it hurts my time. So, what I generally would say is send me an email or send me a text on my cell phone. I'll provide details. So, my email address is mark@markfrentz.com, MARK, at MARKFRENTZ.com. My phone number is 403-816-9501. Yeah, feel free to text me or email me and I'll respond fairly quickly.
And can they learn more about you on your you have a website as well, right?
I do, markfrentz.com. So my first and last name.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much. I know you have a full schedule these days because we've been in touch throughout the week, and I know a lot of exciting things are happening for you. So I wish you a wonderful weekend, and thank you for your time today.
You too, Shelley, and ask me questions anytime. My time is yours. You are somebody I appreciate so much. And anyone who knows you, again, knows that you are willing to give so much to them. So know that I appreciate that in my own life as well. Okay, Shelley?
Yes, thank you.